Dave, we'll start with last weekend. A win on opening day. The curse is lifted. Sky's the limit now, isn't it, for the rest of the season?
It's the best possible start you can have. But football moves on quickly. So that's a positive. A positive in the fact that we're at home, we scored 2 goals, we kept the clean sheet. Performance-wise, I think we're pretty steady across the board. And we got 3 points, so ultimately now you take that into this week's game, which is one we're all looking forward to.
For all the positives that there were this week, in your post-match, you did get the sense that you feel that there's still an awful lot more to come from this team. How long do you think it will take for this team to reach the levels that you think it's capable of?
I would hope the team would improve over the course of the whole season. Now, that's not to say that the last game of the season will be at our best, because we've made a conscious effort and decision to bring in players that we think will improve, and our job is to make sure they improve individually and also make sure they improve collectively over the course of the season. But there's going to be things that get in the way of that, things get in the way of that at the moment with injuries, and there'll be suspensions, and there'll be in some instances maybe a loss of form, a loss of confidence. So there's all them things to go through, but there were some positive signs. When you play a game, it's always probably either some things have gone well that when you watch back are worse than what you thought, and some things that you think weren't very good are better than what you thought, and that's all what was the case. We had lots of chances. I was disappointed with our control element, really, especially when we got that second goal. I think we've worked hard on that, and we need to do that better, and people need to be reliable in certain areas of the pitch. But again, that will take time, and whether that requires pressure from behind in terms of other players within the squad, or whether that requires the understanding of what we want, that'll be down to us. But certainly a work in progress.
Just touching briefly on Tuesday night, obviously a lot of young academy players involved on the night. The academy is obviously a big part of the club's plans over the next couple of years. For those young players, maybe a bit of a baptism of fire on the night, but do you envisage more opportunities for some of them as the season goes on?
Honestly, I hope not, because that would mean that we've got everyone fit and absolutely firing, and our squad's really strong. I think with that in mind, though, if a player from the academy and it's coming through deserves their opportunity based on us having a full squad and them really impressing, then brilliant. That's the idea of it. More often than not, opportunities come in adversity and in difficult times, and that was the case on Tuesday. But they've got to work. They're a long way away from where they need to be, and we understand that. Hence why I suppose this season we've gone a little bit younger in terms of our squad, but the majority of that has been us invested in players. And there needs to be a development pathway for the ones that are coming through. Hence why Ethan Mann, Cody, Ashton have gone out on loan, and others will follow, because they're not ready for League One football yet. They're not ready for League One consistent in a team that wants to challenge and wants to compete. So we've got to give them the best chance of getting to that point.
You mentioned the adversity there in terms of injuries. Obviously, Lewis Bate goes off on Saturday, Sam Hughes on Tuesday. How are those two doing?
Lewis is fine. So again, a kick, which we knew at the time, but things always seem worse because players will tend to walk out in a boot and on crutches, and to protect everything. So things are always magnified, but he's trained yesterday and trained today, so fingers crossed he'll be fine. Sam Hughes still got a little bit of swelling on his ankle. With ankle, it's not the most serious. The ball's caught him on the end of the toe and he's opened up his deltoid ligament in his ankle. With ankles, the big thing is getting the swelling out. Once you get the swelling out, you can pretty much tape them up and strap them up and get on with it. Still a little bit of fluid in there which we need to get rid of. So touch and go for this weekend, but I would hope by next weekend that will have settled and he becomes available for us again.
Just speaking on Lewis, obviously the announcement was made on Saturday before the game that he is your new captain for the new season. I know obviously you have quite a big leadership group here at the club and he's just one player in that, but what do you feel he will bring to that role as captain?
I think as one of the new players coming in into a new group, it sort of, from my perspective, shows that we want people to step up, and that doesn't take away from the fact that players that were here last year still have a big role to play in that. It would have been really easy to pick Ben or to pick Fraser or to pick Watts or to pick, but they're all part of our leadership group, and probably through the spine of the team are in positions that are going to be asked to contribute within that. Lewis, to be fair, is going to be sat right in the middle of the team with people in front and people behind. I just felt that for him, sometimes he, in the past, has found it taking a bit of time to settle. And I had a conversation with him and asked him whether it was something he wanted to do, and he's relishing the opportunity and the responsibility that's being placed on him. But like I say, he's a small cog in decisions that were made on the pitch and off the pitch around the squad. But I know he's looking forward to it. I know he's really honoured to be able to I suppose lead the players out. But for us, with the group that we've got, leadership is a collective, not an individual taking all the responsibility.
Looking ahead to Saturday, I know you mentioned a couple of weeks ago about hoping to have Tanto back involved for this weekend. Is that still the case? Yeah,
Tanto will be back involved. So listen, he's a long way short from 90-minute and repetitive 90 minutes, but he's trained this week with us. So we start a steady integration of him back into match minutes. Obviously played nothing through pre-season, so he's a way behind. But he'll be good to be able to look round and have another forward player on the bench that can make an impact. And if and when needed, we hope that's the case.
He's probably not the only one that's not had a pre-season. I'm thinking Nick Powell, Ryan Rydell, similar. Is it a case of, with all of them, of having to be a little bit patient as you reintegrate them into the team?
Yeah, every situation is going to be different, based around the type of player they are and what their usual loads will be in games. Tanto, as an example, is very explosive, and we want to make sure that it's not too much too soon and he breaks down with something else. Powell is probably slightly different. Ryan's probably somewhere in the middle in terms of his type of stuff. But they're again at least a couple of weeks away. Nick's back out training, and I envisage we'll join back in with the group possibly next week, maybe towards the back end of next week. Ryan's a little bit slower. Again, it becomes a confidence thing with building up the in his mind the slight reluctance to really go all out because he's had two setbacks. So there are some psychological markers that you need to get over there and trust that things aren't gonna go bad again, and he isn't gonna break down, and that might take a little bit longer, but he's certainly not too far away.
The transfer window is still open. I guess it must be difficult when you know that in 2 months' time you're going to have a lot of players back fit and available, but would you still like to add to what you've got between now and the end of the window?
Yeah, but what I'd say with that is that there's 2 weeks left of the transfer window, which is 2 weeks where anything can happen. So as much as there are specific areas at the moment where we think we would benefit from maybe a body in the building, then that could change after Saturday, it could change next Saturday, it could change whenever. So we're in a position where in the main we're probably going to have to be reactive to what we need to do, and I think opportunistic. So there will be things come available at the back end of this window that either at the start of it would never have been a possibility, or at the start of it we would have been further down the queue in terms of what other teams and players were looking for, and them type of opportunities open up. So we can react to those things. If we were in a situation where every one of our players were fit, would we be looking to do something? You probably say not, but the reality within that is that if there's interest in one of your players and there's an interesting thing comes up elsewhere, and you can almost bring forward your recruitments for something that may benefit us further down the line in either the January window or further down, you can speed that process up, then of course you have to look at it. Recruitment is a constantly turning circle, and you never know what's around the corner in terms of interesting conversations around the players that we've got within here, and on the flip side of that, things that become available and things that we may have been kept spinning in the background that all of a sudden someone says yes, it's a goer. So you have to react off that. One thing for certain, all that taken away, when everyone's fit, we're in a really good place, and I'm really positive about what's in front of us.
In terms of tomorrow, I'm sure as players and staff, you all have games when the fixture list comes out that you look forward to. This is definitely one for the fans tomorrow. Blackpool away in August, 4,000 fans travelling in support. How much are you looking forward to that atmosphere tomorrow?
No, it will be a great atmosphere. We've been, as I said before, we've been really fortunate to be backed in numbers when we've gone away from home at lots and lots of places, most places to be fair, and tomorrow will be no different. Like I say, to have the game in the summer when weather forecast looks pretty good, and you can get to Blackpool when it's, like I say, it's not a bad place, that side of the country. As I know from my past, in the summer it can be pretty bleak in the winter. Thankfully, like I say, we go there in the summer. I'm sure the supporters will have a great day, but for us it's about performing on the pitch. Really good opportunity for us to benchmark ourselves, because Blackpool were in and around the playoffs last season, didn't quite get in there in the end, but they'll be looking to do the same this year. So a good marker point for us to see where we're currently at. Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously lost on opening day, but when you look at the home record in particular, I think they're unbeaten in the league since November. So again, it's another step up in terms of the opposition that you're facing.
Yeah, it's a time of the season where how many teams hit the ground running, and do you know if they are actually hit the ground running, or the team they're playing against isn't in the best sort of form. So at the minute, it's all pretty much all over the place, and things probably won't even themselves out until the first month. They've had a disappointing opening day, but they've had two away trips, as you say. They're now back at home, and they'll back themselves to win. For us, a new adventure, first away league fixture in League One. One that we're looking forward to. We're going to try and attack, because it's about us improving and us looking and seeing the benefits of what we've done over the summer in a fixture where we will be challenged. So that'll be, like I say, a great test for the players. But like I say, atmosphere wise, will be a great game to play in.
You talk about in terms of attacking the game there. I mean, I was talking to Simon the other day, and we were discussing how really since you came in, there's never been a league game that County have gone into and played for a point. It's always been a case of going out and trying to win the game, and presumably that approach isn't going to change in League One this season.
No, we'll always try and win the game. Sometimes you have to try and win the game in different ways. We've tried that a couple of times, or well, more than a couple of times, tactically, as to how you go about things. Listen, sometimes that's worked, and you take all the plaudits. Other times it hasn't worked, we've lost the game. So you go into any game with a game plan of where our strengths might match up to an opposition's weakness. Sometimes that doesn't always happen, and sometimes even when it does happen, you don't win. So we want to be front foot. We want to try and be high intensity and aggressive about how we go about it, but fundamentally we want to win the game. And if winning the game means we end up being deep and we defend well and we ride our luck and we stink the place out and win 1-0, then although that's not where we want to get to and what we don't think will get us what we want to get over the course of the season, then of course we'll absolutely take it, and we'd love to come away from Blackpool having won our opening first 2 games and be sat in a really good position. Ideally for us, if it can be around performance based and us taking care of what we are and being a better version of us than last week, then I think we give ourselves a good chance.
Appreciate your time, Dave. Thank you.
Welcome. Cheers. Thank you.